When asked to participate in this activity, I quickly recalled an experience from over 30 years ago. I was raised with one sibling, a brother who was 2 years older than I was. Charles was brilliant academically, but physically he was weak, suffering from a blood disorder all his life, taking blood transfusions to stay alive. We always knew his life was fragile. In his 30s, his body was overtaken by an infection that quickly turned fatal. My family and I were grateful for the years that Charles was with us and for his remarkable accomplishments in spite of his constant health issues. Nevertheless, his rather sudden death had its sting. In the days and weeks following his death, I received the usual cards from friends, which I certainly appreciated. However, there was one note in particular that stands out because of the words in the message. It was from one of my fellow choir members. She wrote in her note that although my brother was no longer with us, death could not rob me of the wonderful memories that I had of him, of the experiences of growing up together, of studying together, of being a part of a family living together. Of course, I knew this. But when I read this message, these words were so beautifully written by this lovely friend. The pain of loss was lessened, the sting of death dulled.
About 1 year ago, my dad was near the end of his life, and during his last weeks, we had many meaningful conversations. On the day that he told us he was ready to go, my son Thomas came to have one more visit with him. And during that visit, my dad shared 5 very powerful words with us that gave us so much peace and comfort. He told Thomas, "I'll be waiting for you."
Yesterday, I received this wonderful story from a friend, and I would love to share it with you today. Please hear the words of my friend David Rogers. I had the most remarkable telephone conversation yesterday, and I just wanted to share it with my family and friends because of the huge impact it had on me. The call came from a guy I went to grade school with more years ago than I am willing to admit. Apparently, he sat behind me in math class, and according to him, he teased me rather unmercifully. In fact, he used the word bullying to describe how he treated me. After all this time, he was concerned that his actions so many years ago might have had a lasting negative effect on my life, and he was calling to apologize. He wanted me to know how sorry he was for what he did and said back then, and that he knew that what he did was wrong. To say that his call came as a surprise to me would be a gigantic understatement. The fact is, I was teased as a child. I mean, come on, I was a pretty smart kid, not at all athletic, played the piano, liked the theater. I was a pretty easy target, particularly in a small town in Texas. But that bullying did have an effect then and now. But I have to admit that I'd be lying if I said I remembered the specific actions of this one self-described bully, at least for what he did then. But for what he did now, I'll remember that always. I don't know what his specific motivations were for calling me, but I do know that it must have taken incredible courage to make that call, and for that, I am grateful. His actions then probably hurt me more than I'm willing or able to remember, but his action yesterday is one that I will always remember, and for that, I am grateful. By the way, that I forgave him is beside the point. Of course I did, freely and easily and without hesitation. That he reached out is the real power in this story. I'm not even sure he was looking for forgiveness, but rather felt that he needed to say what he needed to say. Courageous words heal. Amen.